Hey guys, it's Adam aka Swimming Bird, and welcome to the new snapshot for Minecraft 1.9. This is 15W34A, and this week we have another huge change to the way combat works, making sure 1.9 lives up to that name, the combat update. So last week, the controversial new feature was shields, and these are a new addition that replaces sword blocking. Now, swords used to block 50% of melee damage. Shields only block 33%, and they can break after taking a bit of damage. But the trade-off is that you can now block 100% of projectile damage. As long as you are facing that projectile in your view distance, it will block projectiles and protect you from all damage. So it has a big advantage, even if there are a few trade-offs from sword blocking. Now, if you want some more details on how shields work, definitely check out last week's snapshot. This week's big change to combat is probably going to be even more controversial. So the big thing that a lot of people complain about with combat is that in PvP, and just in normal combat as well, in survival, you can just click spam and do a ton of damage. Doesn't take that much skill. If you can click a little faster than your opponent, you will probably beat them. So the way that they have combated this is adding in a new attack strength mechanic, and you can see it popping up next to my hotbar down at the bottom. So the way this works is, if you were to click spam, like in past versions, you will not do that much damage. You can see it takes me quite a while to take down this zombie, even with a critical hit there. But if you were to space your attacks out a little bit, you will do max damage and take them down very quickly. So the idea is that every time you attack, that meter disappears, and once it's full again, that means you can attack at max damage. And you don't even need that meter, it's actually off by default, but if you watch the sword, once it raises back up into the full upright position, that means you're ready to go. And you can go into video settings and change that. There's even one for the crosshairs that's a lot simpler, you can see. It's a little gray sword, and when that pops up, it fills up and lets you know. I think this one's a little bit better because it's right where you're looking, and it helps you know exactly when until you can get the timing down. Now, this actually has different effects for different weapons. If you have your fist out, it is pretty much instant to fill up there. If you have a sword, it's a little slower, and different materials don't really matter. It's just, what you're using. Now, an axe is even slower than a sword, and the idea that Jeb, the developer, said is that axes will probably have a trade-off, like maybe they'll do more damage to a shield, but they'll be a little slower to charge up. Pickaxes and shovels take a little bit to charge up as well, but most other items are pretty instant to do, a little bit of damage because they're not for combat usually. So this is a big controversial feature, as I mentioned. I know a lot of people might not like this, but please, if you have any criticisms of this, you can go on the subreddits Minecraft or Minecraft suggestions. You can tweet at the developers, but try to be civil about it. I know you guys are probably not going to do anything crazy like death threats and stuff like that, but the developers have been getting that type of stuff over just a little change to combat. So I hope you guys will give them some good suggestions. If you don't like this, that's okay. They are open to changes, and they want to know what the majority of players want to see with combat. So I think this is a good step in the right direction. Just like shields, they're going to tweak this until they find a good balance that most players are happy with. And this does open up new options. I think they could probably add something like a dagger that attacks crazy fast but maybe does less damage, or a spear that is a lot slower but maybe has better reach. I think that would be kind of cool. This opens the door for the need to have different weapons. Usually before, it's just whatever weapon does more damage is the weapon that you would use. But now, this is a good reason to add in different types, and I think that is going to be a big improvement in the future. So shields, there's a thing that I didn't mention before. You can actually add a unbreaking enchantment book through an anvil to them. You can't use any other enchantments, and you can't use them on the enchantment table yet, but you can make them have unbreaking, so they last a little longer, which is nice. And there are some big changes to mobs in this update. There's a lot of other stuff, not just that attack strength mechanic there. We have some other features here, and I also wanted to show you guys a little Easter egg with that, is that it looks just like the strength potion effect here, but it's a little less vibrant. You can see down in the corner there. So that's where they got that symbol from with the bleeding sword. So mobs had some big changes to them. Now all of them have more optimized AI, pathfinding, and block ticking. So they should update to find you a little faster. They're a bit smarter, stuff like that. And because of this, there's about a 15% tick speed increase within 16 chunks. So it should make the game run a bit faster. and use less processing power. So the game should run even better than it did before in previous updates. Now zombies and zombie pigmen, you can see their arms are a little lower than they used to hold them. This is kind of like that update to skeletons. You guys saw, now skeletons will pull back their bow when they're ready to attack. This is a way to see if zombies and zombie pigmen are ready to attack. They will raise their arms up when they're going to attack you. If you get close enough here, I'll just let this zombie out, and you can see he raises his arms up and he's trying to get me, and that signals that they're coming after you. So that's a good way to tell if they see you and they're trying to get you. So that's a nice little addition there. Now, the mob heads, this is a little secret from the last snapshot that slipped through the cracks. If you guys remember, a few snapshots ago, mob heads actually changed where if you wear one of the corresponding mob, they won't notice you as far away. Like, they'll notice you when you're closer up. It would cut their view distance by 50% if you wore the zombie, skeleton, or creeper head for that mob. Now, that's been increased even more, so you can get up to 37.5% of their view distance and they won't see you. This is the block right here that signals how far you can get. And if you're sneaking, you can get even a little bit farther, but if you get too close to them, even if I've got the skeleton head on, it's gonna notice me and try to attack. Ooh, look out for that creeper. Jeez. But yeah, there he goes. He noticed me that time. So yeah, they're not as smart as they used to be. They will get tricked by you wearing those mob heads, but it's not perfect. You can't get right up next to them, so do be careful about that. And speaking of different mobs, let's go into creative again before that skeleton kills me. You can now summon in giants to see them as just a big shadow. So you could always summon in giants, but this is actually a feature they took out. Giants no longer have a rendering model, and I hope this isn't a bad sign. I really hope they keep giants in the game because I know a lot of different servers and mods use them, like MineZ, but in the vanilla Minecraft, they're not used at all. They just used to look like giant zombies. So they don't really have much of a point in the game. I hope they add them in as a full mob eventually because it would be kind of cool. Let's throw a lingering potion on them so you can see where he is a little better. But yeah, now they don't have a model, but they're still there. You can still summon them in, and you can still attack them and take them down. I gotta remember not to click spam anymore. But yeah, it's a little weird. I really hope this isn't a bad sign for giants. I would love to see them as a mob that maybe spawns in the mountains or something cool and has some unique drop to it. But yeah, they might be taken out. I think it's probably just linked to the fact that they changed how zombies and zombie pigmen work with those arm-raising animations, so that's probably why they messed with giants there. Now, maps had a big change. Normally, when you craft a map, I'll show you this little meter here. Normally, all the way on the left, you'd have the most zoomed-in map when you craft it, and it's a 1 pixel by 1 block scale, so 1 pixel on that map is 1 block. Now, when you craft it, it actually is the middle one, and I'll show you guys here. It will show you a 1 to 4 pixel radius. So one little pixel on that block or on that map is 4 blocks in the world. So it's zoomed out a bit. And if you want to zoom it out even more, it's still the same recipe. You just put some paper around the map in a crafting table. But there's a new way to reduce your map. If you put it in a crafting table with some shears, it will now trim it down to 1 size less. And at this point, it actually reduces it down to the lower right quadrant of the original map that you had. Hopefully they add a little bit of a way to make that more intuitive. Maybe where you put the shears in the crafting table will determine where it snips on the map. But yeah, now we have a way to reduce maps as well as grow them, so that's kind of cool. And it's another use for shears. Over here, you probably noticed there's some differences with command block. We have the normal orange flavor still, but we also have Baja Blast and Grape now. So these are different types of command blocks. You don't have to worry if you use these. They are still going to be the same if you use the normal orange one. This is now called the Impulse command block, or just the normal command block when you grab it. But the other two have added some very nice features, and even if you're not a map maker or minigame maker, you're going to see the effects of these because they're going to help people make stuff a lot easier, a lot faster, use a lot less of your Minecraft's processing power to run all of these commands. So the normal ones function the same, but there are a few differences. You can see the texture now has blinking lights, and they have these arrows on them. The back is a little different as well. So just like pistons or logs, when you place them, they'll have different arrows facing depending on how you place them down, so they can be pointed up, pointed to the side, all that good stuff. And this is showing you where their signal is headed. So the normal command block, the Impulse one, still works like normal. When you power it, it gives you, does the command. That's the one for the Power 1000 bow if you want to take down the dragon real easy. There you go. Now, the other two types, we have the repeating command block here, the grape one. This one is a nice fast way of not having to do a redstone clock or repeater. You can just turn it on, it will repeat the command over and over with every tick. So that's a very nice way, very compact way of repeating a command. So that's very handy. Now this one is the chain command block. It's a little different. It doesn't really do anything on its own, but if it is powered and somebody powers a command or puts power into it, it will run that command. So you can see this one has that summon the experience orb, and this one does as well. And if I was to just turn this on by itself, it's only going to do that one orb. But if this one's powered and I feed a current into it with these command blocks, it will summon both of them. So this is kind of a way that you could shut off certain commands in a row, or just have it powered in a longer, strain there, instead of having to have a bunch of them in one area. You don't have to summon in those redstone blocks to trigger stuff, and it's going to be a lot nicer for, maximizing how much power you're using on that stuff without having to slow down the server a bunch to run these commands. So they are very useful. And again, you can pick them to get the different types. Right now, you have to just kind of click this to change between them, but if you can summon them in and then you get them down, then you can just pick block to grab them pretty easy. So yeah, that's mostly for map makers, but I think it's still a nice feature that most people will see if they play on servers and play adventure maps. One last thing, the Ender Dragon fight. This is another one that slipped through the cracks from last time. You can now respawn the Ender Dragon, still using that same weird creeper face method with the clay, but that's going to get taken out eventually. But the main thing to note here is that all of the pillars, the crystals and the iron bars, they have this cool explosion effect, and then they respawn one by one. So the dragon fight is basically ready to go. Everything will respawn and reset when you're ready to bring the dragon back in. All that's left is for us to figure out the official method for bringing the dragon back in. And originally that was going to be crafting a crystal, but I think with this method, maybe it'll just be, it could be like hatching the egg or something. It will bring the dragon back and set everything up for another fight. So you can fight the dragon more than once, get more dragon breath, all that good stuff. And this also allows for multiple end gateways from multiple dragon kills. So if you kill more dragons, you'll get more of those end gateways, and you'll be able to travel off in different directions into the end and find more of those cities and ships and all that good stuff, which we are still waiting to see. There's going to be a secret about the end ship, but they haven't put it in yet. So anyways, I hope you guys are at least interested in the attack strength, and I don't want anyone to just, judge it too quickly, hopefully, and write it off, because again, they're going to change it and tweak it depending on how people think about the feature and what the feedback is to try to make it better. But I think it does open a lot of doors for different types of weapons, which I'm most excited about, and it makes it that there are a little bit more amounts of nuances to combat along with shields, so you're not just going to be spamming arrows or spamming, your sword attacks. And remember, in the past, we've had other times where the bow and arrow used to actually rapid fire arrows when you held it down. Like some of the stuff like charging bows, this wasn't always in the game. They changed things like that. That was always a controversy, but usually people came around, and I think the game is better for some of these changes. So I hope that they find a good, happy medium and people are pleased with it. But again, if you don't like it, let them know in a nice, civilized manner, and I'm sure they appreciate it. They've been working hard on this update, and I hope you guys are looking forward to it. I know I am. Thanks again for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time for some more Minecraft.